Welcome, everyone. This is All Minus One Quick Shots. Folks, today I kind of have a hypothetical for you because there has been a lot of talk about how the future will go, the way the world is going, where the United States is at, the globalist agendas, all of those things, and a great boogaloo coming. And I've said numerous times on my channel, and I do believe this, that we are headed toward one. Probably not going to be here until another presidential administration is inaugurated within the White House, and I believe it will be because of that administration. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be Trump, though it's a potentiality. I'm not saying it's going to be a Democrat, though that's a potentiality too. I do know, unless things change magically, that it will not be Joe Biden, because despite what all the people talk about Joe Biden and if he's a one-term president or not, they seem to keep forgetting that Joe Biden said very specifically during the presidential debates that he was only going to be the Democratic presidential debates, that he was only going to be a one-term president. He was just going to restore things to normal. And what is normal? Normal is the globalist way, the way of the world government. That is the model that we operate off of. That is why we do the things we do at the federal level, because they don't really care about you. And there's a lot of people in the federal government that might care about you. They might be your neighbors. They might be average citizens. But let me tell you this, folks. They're worried about their pensions. They're worried about their paychecks. They're worried about a job. When it comes to the folks that are in charge, they're worried about maintaining the system and the power. And when it comes to the folks that actually run things and make the policies, they're worried about the global government. They're not worried about the United States government. So, hypothetical. Instead of a civil war brought on by potentially secession, the divorce, we need a peaceful divorce, but the likelihood of that happening is not likely. But instead of that, hypothetically speaking, what if the federal government just lost power? And I'm saying this not in some delusional way, not in some theoretical sphere, not in some just fever dream that the federal government will one day just not have any power anymore, but in the fact that their influence is only as powerful as the people willing to go along with it. And there are a lot of people who are already facing exhaustion over this pandemic, that they do not want to go along with it anymore. The more people get exhausted with this and wake up, the more we see that there is going to be a referendum against the federal government. So just recently, there was an article discussing the difference between Ron DeSantis in Florida, and other states, let's say Gavin Newsom in California, and how the lockdowns affected them and how they did differently and how many deaths would have happened if, DeSantis had stayed locked down. And accordingly, they tried to say, well, like 3,000 more people would have died in California if they'd done DeSantis' rules. Well, that number is kind of probably statistically insignificant, really. It really is, since there was about 40,000 people that died in Florida. I'm not sure how many in California, or 30,000, something like that. Anyways, regardless of what the numbers are off the top of my head, what we do know is that there is no statistical significance between any country or state with any of these lockdowns or mandates of any sort. Social distancing, business restrictions, mask mandates, whatever. The CDC just published a study the other week talking about this. The difference between life-saving and folks dying was like 0.5 out of, I'm pretty sure, or 0.05 out of pretty sure 100. Not really anything. So with that, guys, what if people just got burnt out? What if they started supporting their local governments? What if instead of propping up the federal government and being involved in that all the time and watching the legacy media, people got involved with their local community governments? My local community, my county, decided that H.R. 8, not a good deal. Not a good deal, and we will become a 2A sanctuary. What if my whole state of West Virginia did that? What if we said no more lockdowns? Not likely under Jim Justice, because he's basically a globalist himself. But what if we did that? What if the pressure came from the people? What if the states decided, oh, we're not going to let you tax our people anymore and we're going to protect them? Now, I know that that's getting towards the secession side of things. But again, what if people just did not go along with it? Joe Biden threatened to cut off travel to Florida within a state. By the way, he cannot do that. There's no constitutionality behind that. They could say, well, that's interstate commerce, but that's not under the executive branch now, is it? It's under Congress. And two, I don't know if there's any precedent for that, and I don't think that the Constitution authorizes that. That's going to be a leap. But again, DeSantis has done what he's wanted to. Kristi Noem in South Dakota has done what she has wanted to. They're doing fine. Texas has reopened. Joe Biden said, that's Neanderthal thinking. Neanderthal thinking. Okay. What does that even mean, Joe? You can't even get out a coherent sentence most of the time. You just promised Americans in your first speech addressing America, you've yet to do a State of the Union, that they could have their independence on Independence Day if they complied. Let me just wave that underneath your nose there, your freedom. Let me just wave it. You can smell it. Hey, can you smell your freedom? I'll give it back to you if you just do what I say. That's not freedom, folks. That's a bribe. What if the states stopped complying without secession with the people? If local communities stopped complying. This is really all I talk about anyways. I think it's what we need to do. We need to go build our own communities and our own societies. Maybe we'll still have to pay taxes. I mean, if that keeps the guy with the guns out, and you might say, but Bill, we should stand and fight. Okay, well, you go ahead and do that and get Waco, dude. You're not going to be worth much of anything if that happens. Now, could you be some sort of martyr? Could your people, your community be martyrs toward the world? Absolutely. But who controls the media? Who controls the narrative? So again, just some thoughts, just some random thoughts. That's really what this is about. My quick shots, what they're about, just things I'm thinking about when I'm seeing things come in from the world, from the news, from media, whatever it may be. What if we just stopped listening on the local level and that expanded to the state level? What if the federal government ran out of power? And you guys might be, I'm not sure, I'm following you. Well, let me throw this last thing out there. The Federal Reserve Bank is currently inflating money, like very hardcore. We are currently doing a lot of stuff to bankrupt this nation. We have upended a lot of manufacturing. We were doing really well under Donald Trump, actually. And we're going backwards once again because that is the globalist plan. What if the states, seeing that our economies are failing, start to basically take things into their own hands? The silver lining of falling down and the destruction of our loose federation. And it's been a very tight federation recently. But when the money goes and there is no more ability for the federal government to basically say, here's some money, states, do what we say, comply, or you won't get this. Will the states not take matters into their own hands? Will the states not start to form their own pacts and alliances amongst each other? I could see Florida and maybe Georgia, maybe Alabama, kind of all join a little pack, maybe North Carolina, South Carolina, all that. Perhaps not Virginia, but Northern Virginia is a whole nother beast from the west of the rest of it. West Virginia, we're a very special beast because we are a large state that is very green and very, very small, a very small population, even though we are practically on the East Coast. We don't have any coastline ourselves, but we're like right there. What if you would see that? I mean, I'm sure northern states, New England, would join together and have their little communist utopia. I'm sure that parts of wherever in the Midwest might do the same. But what we're seeing largely is the cities versus the countryside, the countryside, the counties that are rural versus the cities and the counties that are dense and have a high urban population. And those folks run things because they have the money, but eventually the money's going to dry up. We're going to hit hyperinflation and times are going to be hard. And when that hyperinflation comes, will the federal government be able to muster the force and the power that it once had to come in and tell the states what to do? Now, normally that's through monetary means. But even without secession, if the states are like, nope, I'm not going to listen to that, not going to listen to that. Look, that's been happening now with marijuana. It's been happening, of course, with sanctuary cities, with the immigration issue. And now it's happening with the 2A issue. So what if we just say no? We just say no, the federal government loses power, and the states rise up once again under the 9th and 10th Amendments. Now, that's a lovely fairy tale. I don't know that that will happen. But perhaps it is a third way. Perhaps it's another way out of this globalist system. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I'm not per se a pessimist, but a realist. And I think that the real thing that will happen here in the future will be that the federal government will get absorbed into the new global government. But it is really hard to say. It is really hard to control things on a local level from a centralized command economy, such as the federal government of the United States, or from Beijing, which will be the new world power. So what if? What if there is an escape there? And I think there is some potential to that. Maybe that'll be sooner than I think it is. Maybe that will avoid the Civil War conflict. Maybe that'll be regional. Maybe those things will only take place in certain areas. It's hard to say, but I think it's a good what if to wish for. And it will require every single one of you listening to go out there and be involved locally with your communities, to be involved with local government, to move to places that are friendly to your opinions, and stop trying to fight for what's already lost. Because, folks, the cities are lost. Get out of the city. Go rebuild your lives. Go build communities. This is the way forward, in my opinion, at least. And maybe there is a small chance of hope that the federal authorities will not overtake our entire lives and basically dictate from upon high everything that we must do, while also making us join, this great reset globalist one world government, right? Just maybe. But that's about all I have for you guys today. Just a few thoughts there about how the pandemic has been handled in different ways and here locally in the U.S. and the future of the government. Because I don't want to say I'm black-pilled, but I am generally talking that I believe that a civil war will come. The hyperinflation is coming. But it doesn't mean that there isn't hope. Like, life moves on. We will continue on. But perhaps I'm wrong about that. Perhaps we can move in a different direction. So let's hope for that, and let's strive for that while keeping our eye on the greater picture. And that is that the globalists and the commies will continue to come. With all that, folks, this has been All Minus One Quick Shots, and I wish you all well.